The cabin lights glowed softly, casting a warm golden hue over the nearly full plain. Outside the window, snow swirled against the glass in quiet spirals, tiny flakes glowing like drifting stars. It was Christmas Eve, a night most people wanted to spend at home, yet here they were, suspended in the sky between two worlds. The gentle hum of engines merged with the rustle of passengers settling into blankets, adjusting pillows, whispering last-minute calls before takeoff. In seat 14A, Adrian Blake kept his eyes fixed on nothing. The world saw him as unreachable, a CEO whose calendar dictated his life, whose reputation left no room for weakness, whose every decision was measured in millions. But tonight, none of those things felt real. Tonight, the success felt hollow, like applause in an empty theater. He sat upright, shoulders tense, fingers pressed tightly together, almost bracing himself against a memory he didn't want to acknowledge. The seat beside him remained empty for boarding, and he preferred it that way. He wasn't in the mood for conversations, small talk, or Christmas wishes he couldn't return. He had spent years avoiding any reminder of the season, a habit that kept him comfortably numb. But life rarely respected the walls people built. Just as the plane leveled out after the initial climb, a small shadow appeared beside his seat. A little boy stood there, tiny, tousled hair, warm brown eyes bright with curiosity instead of fear. The boy hugged a well-loved stuffed reindeer with frayed antlers and a missing button eye. He wasn't crying, but he looked like he was trying not to. Before Adrian could say a word, the boy's soft voice broke the silence. Mom said lonely people need friends. Adrian blinked, startled out of his thoughts. In all his years of navigating boardrooms, negotiating deals, intimidating senior executives, he had never been approached so gently, so simply. He stared at the little boy, unsure how to respond. "I'm sorry," he said, voice lower than intended. The boy nodded earnestly, as if clarifying something important. She said if someone looks like they're sitting alone in their heart, you should sit with them for a bit. Adrian felt something shift inside him. People rarely looked at him long enough to notice how alone he was, let alone speak it aloud. He slowly turned to look for the boy's mother. A few rows back, a woman slept with her head against the window, her coat wrapped around her shoulders like a thin blanket. She looked exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying life without help. "You came alone?" Adrian asked. The boy nodded, inching closer. "I couldn't sleep. Planes make my tummy jump. So Mom said if I get scared, I can talk to someone nice. And you picked me." Adrian almost smiled. "You looked quiet," the boy said simply, as though that explained everything. A beat of silence passed, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt strangely grounding, like this little boy had stepped into a space Adrian didn't realize was empty. "What's your name?" Adrian asked. "Eli," he answered, lifting his reindeer. "And this is Captain Sprinkles. He's brave, but only when I hold him tight." Adrian let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "Well, Eli, it's nice to meet you both." Eli climbed into the empty seat without hesitation, legs dangling. He pressed his forehead to the window, watching the snowy darkness outside. "It looks like we are flying through Christmas dust." Adrian followed his gaze. The sky did look enchanted, soft clouds glowing white against the night. Something about the imagery softened him further, loosening a knot he had kept tied for years. "Are you going somewhere special?" Adrian asked gently. "To Grandma's," Eli said. "She makes hot chocolate with real chocolate pieces. Mom says it's magic because it feels like a hug from the inside." Adrian's chest tightened at the simplicity of it. He couldn't remember the last time he associated holidays with warmth or magic. He had traded those things for ambition long ago. "And you?" Eli asked, turning to him. "Where are you going?" Adrian paused. He wasn't sure how to explain that he was traveling not towards something, but away from emptiness. Just visiting. "Do you have someone waiting?" Eli asked. The question landed harder than expected. Adrian stared at his clasped hands before answering. "Not really." "Oh," Eli said softly, processing the weight of that answer as only a child could, with quiet empathy, not pity. He shifted closer and whispered, "Then you can share our Christmas. Grandma says there's always room." Adrian felt something warm settle in his chest. He wasn't sure what it was, comfort, shock, or the beginning of a feeling he had forgotten. But it made him breathe a little easier. Another small tremor shook the plane, and Eli grabbed his arm tighter. "I don't like that part." Adrian steadied him gently, placing a calming hand over the boy's. You're safe. It's just air pockets. You know a lot, Eli murmured, comforted. You sound like someone who fixes things. Adrian exhaled softly. I used to. A long time ago. Eli nodded, then looked at him again with honest curiosity. My mom says some people get tired inside their hearts. She says when that happens, they stop hearing Christmas songs even if they're playing really loud. The metaphor hit deeper than any boardroom insight ever had. Does that happen to you? Eli asked. Adrian didn't trust his voice enough to answer. He just nodded once. Eli gently placed his reindeer in Adrian's lap. Then Captain Sprinkles can stay with you for a bit. He makes sad people braver. Adrian stared at the toy, worn, soft, lopsided, and yet somehow more meaningful than any luxury he owned. He held it awkwardly but carefully, afraid to damage something so loved. Thank you, he said quietly. Eli smiled, a small, warm, innocent smile that cut through the coldness around Adrian's heart. The plane continued gliding through the quiet sky, and for the first time in years, Adrian didn't feel suffocated by the silence. Instead, he felt connected, to a child who had no idea who he was, no expectations, no demands. Just simple kindness. As Eli leaned against his shoulder, finally drifting into sleep, Adrian found himself whispering something he hadn't said in years. Merry Christmas. The words felt new. Strange. Healing. And though he didn't know it yet, this small moment on a quiet Christmas Eve flight would change everything that came next. Eli's small fingers tightened around Adrian's sleeve again as the cabin lights brightened slightly, signaling the beginning of descent. The boy wasn't trembling anymore, but he leaned close, seeking the comfort he trusted. Adrian kept his hand steady over Eli's, guiding every slow breath the boy took. It surprised him how natural it felt, how instinctively he responded, as though he had been waiting for someone to reach for him like this for far too long. You're doing great, Adrian whispered. Eli nodded, proud but still worried. Mom always helps me when we land, but she's really tired this time. She didn't even hear me get up. Adrian glanced back again. The boy's mother remained asleep, peaceful but drained, her face softened by the dim cabin lights. Her dark hair fell slightly over her cheek, and her coat, thin for winter, was pulled tight around her body. She looked like someone who had spent every ounce of herself trying to make life gentle for her child. She must be working very hard, Adrian said quietly. Eli hugged his reindeer. She works a lot so we can visit Grandma for Christmas. Grandma gets lonely now because Grandpa went to heaven. Mom said we should make Christmas warm for her, even if we are a little cold. The simplicity of the boy's explanation sent a warm ache through Adrian's chest. He admired this mother, someone he had never met, who fought alone without complaining, giving her child memories instead of excuses. What does she do? Adrian asked. She cleans houses. And sometimes she helps in a bakery, Eli answered. She leaves when it's still dark and comes home when it's dark again. Adrian looked down, deeply moved. His own mother had done the same, double shifts, extra hours, weekends, so he could have opportunities she never had. He remembered watching her hands crack from the cold water used for scrubbing floors, and how she smiled anyway when he brought home good grades. He had promised himself he'd take care of her one day. But success had come late, too late. The regrets still lived in him, heavy. You have a strong mom, Adrian said. You're very lucky. I know, Eli said, eyes softening. That's why I try to be brave. She worries about me a lot. But sometimes, I worry about her too. The boy's voice thinned at the end, not sad, just honest in a way only children could be. Adrian felt something inside him shift again, gently but meaningfully. The plane dipped slightly, and Eli gripped his seat. Adrian leaned closer. Look at me, not the window. Breathe with me. Slow, like this. He inhaled deeply, and Eli followed, matching the rhythm carefully. As the tension eased, the boy's shoulders softened again. You're really good at this, Eli whispered. Good at what? Adrian asked, slightly amused. Helping, Eli said simply. Mom says some people are born with warm voices. You have one. Adrian almost laughed under his breath. He had spent years speaking in cold, sharp tones across boardrooms. Yet with this child, his voice had softened in ways that felt unfamiliar. Good, but unfamiliar. Thank you, Eli. The boy's eyes shimmered with innocence. Are you going to see your family too? Adrian paused. The truth tasted heavy, but he didn't hide it. I used to visit, but I waited too long. They're gone now. Eli's little face softened with quiet compassion. Then maybe you can sit with us at Grandma's for a little while. She likes visitors. And she makes extra cookies when someone looks like they need them. A small laugh escaped Adrian, gentle, surprised, real. That's very kind. It's Christmas, Eli said, as though that alone explained everything. Mom says Christmas is when hearts open a little more. The boy didn't know it, but his words tugged at something deep, something buried under years of isolation, ambition, and guilt. The idea of being welcomed into someone else's warmth felt impossible, yet strangely comforting. The captain's voice crackled through the speakers, announcing the upcoming landing. Passengers straightened their seats. Lights brightened to a soft glow. Adrian guided Eli's hand so the boy wouldn't feel the sudden shift alone. Almost there, Adrian murmured. Does landing feel like falling? Eli asked nervously. More like floating down, Adrian said. Like a soft slide. That sounds better, Eli whispered, squeezing his reindeer. The wheels touched the runway with a gentle thump, and the plane slowed. Eli breathed out slowly, relief mixing with pride. Adrian kept a steady hand on his back until the boy was fully calm. Passengers began opening overhead bins, phones lit up, and Christmas greetings echoed softly around the cabin. But amidst all the noise, the quiet bond between them remained. Adrian helped Eli unbuckle, then stood to retrieve the boy's small backpack from the overhead compartment. Eli accepted it with both hands, smiling. Thank you, he said. You're welcome, Adrian replied. Let's go see your mom. They walked together down the narrow aisle. As they approached her seat, the boy's mother blinked awake, startled by the movement. Her eyes widened when she saw her son walking hand in hand with a stranger, then immediately softened when she noticed how gently the man held him. Eli? She asked, voice groggy but warm. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. It's okay, Mommy. Eli held her hand. I wasn't scared because he helped me. He's my new friend. Adrian offered a polite nod. He kept me company too. He's a very brave kid. The woman smiled, tired but genuine. Her eyes carried the weight of motherhood, the fierce love, the exhaustion, the hope. Thank you, really. He gets anxious during flights. He handled it well, Adrian assured her. He has a good heart. Eli beamed, proud of the praise. As they stepped off the plane and into the bright terminal lights, Christmas decorations shimmered from every corner, twinkling garlands, glowing wreaths, a towering tree covered in gold ornaments. Families greeted each other with warm hugs, laughter echoing between the glass walls. Eli tugged Adrian's sleeve gently. Don't be lonely anymore, okay? The words hit deeper than the boy intended. Adrian felt them settle somewhere he hadn't let anything settle in years. I'll try, he said softly. You can come say hi to Grandma if you want, Eli continued. She always makes people feel warm. The invitation lingered in the air, light, sincere, impossible to ignore. The boy's mother gave a shy smile. Thank you for watching him. I appreciate it more than you know. It was my honor, Adrian said honestly. They walked a few steps apart, but kept glancing back at each other, almost as if none of them were fully ready to let the moment end. Eli waved again. Bye, friend. Adrian raised a hand, feeling something warm spread through him, something that didn't feel like an end at all, but the quiet beginning of something new. As the crowd moved around him, the lights flickering against the snowy night outside, Adrian realized something he hadn't felt in years. He didn't feel empty. And for the first time in a long time, Christmas didn't feel cold. It felt like a door opening, just enough for a little light to slip through.